Welcome back. The General Secretariat of the Council of the European Union announced Namibia's removal from the list of third world countries included in Annex 1 of Recommendation EU 2020-912 on Wednesday. Joining me on the line with more details on this is Her Excellency Dr. Mekondjo Kaapanda-Girnus, Namibia's ambassador to Belgium and the European Union. Good morning, Your Excellency, and welcome to Good Morning Namibia.
And good morning to you as well, Denver. Thank you very much for having me.
Your Excellency, in the first instance, please clarify and explain to us what the removal means for and to Namibia.
Right. So what has happened is that on the 1st of December, meaning 2 days ago, that the Council of the European Union, which is a body made up of government ministers from each EU country, this body recommended that Namibians can no longer travel to the EU for non-essential reasons. And what we now expect is for EU member states to implement that recommendation. Now, it's important to highlight that notwithstanding this decision, some Namibians will still be able to enter the EU, provided that they can prove, that they can demonstrate that they are traveling for essential reasons. And just to give you an example of people falling into this category, they include students, diplomats, staff members of international organizations, people who have been invited by international organizations to attend meetings, professional athletes, people who are traveling for compelling family reasons, such as family reunification. Those people will still be able to travel. It's also possible to travel for humanitarian reasons, i.e. in order to seek urgent medical treatment. So there are exceptions, and it is therefore advisable for people who wish to travel to countries in the EU to familiarize themselves with those exceptions, with those details, by contacting the relevant EU embassy. Having said that, the removal of Namibia from Annex 1 is deeply disappointing because it does mean that most Namibians will not be able to travel to the EU. The imposition of these types of travel restrictions is also likely to send, frankly, a negative message to the world that our country is not safe in terms of COVID-19, and we very much fear that this will deter many tourists from visiting us. I think it's clear that our economy has suffered very much during this pandemic, and as was stated by the Ministry of Tourism a few days ago, this is really a painful blow to our tourism industry, particularly as we enter the festive season, when I think a lot of of our travel and hospitality companies would have expected an increased bookings. So we're very much concerned about the impact that this development will have on our economy and our ability and our efforts to recover from the pandemic.
Your Excellency, hearing your disappointment about what you call a painful blow, do we know what exactly brought this decision about?
Well, this is a very good question, and I will try to answer it to the best of my ability, because I think ultimately it is, of course, for the EU to explain why this decision was taken. But what we do know is that the EU has adopted a series of criteria which they use in order to determine whether travel restrictions should be imposed or lifted in relation to a particular country. We understand that these criteria look at things like the epidemiological situation in the country. They look at the overall response to COVID-19. They look at the data, the information that is available about that country and from that country. And when we look at the official recommendation for Namibia to be removed from Annex 1, if we actually look at the text, it says that Namibia was removed on the basis of recent data from the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control and also the European External Action Service. But obviously we don't have access to that data, and we therefore cannot comment. But I just want to highlight the fact that on the day that a special EU committee met in order to perform an assessment of this list, of the list of countries on Annex 1, and this was on the 29th of November, just on Monday. On that day, Namibia registered only 11 new cases of COVID-19, and we only had 123 active COVID-19 cases in the entire country, and 11 people were being hospitalized. So it is our view that this data does not seem to justify a tightening of travel restrictions in relation to Namibia, at the time that the decision was taken, because there are other countries in the world with a much higher caseload, which are not subject to the same EU travel restrictions, and this just doesn't seem right.
Now, bearing these far-ranging consequences in mind, is it possible to still engage in conversation or negotiations about this development?
Absolutely. I think it's important to emphasize, number one, that this Annex 1 list is reviewed every 2 weeks. So every 2 weeks, the EU meets and they decide whether a country is going to be removed from the list or a country is going to be added or removed from the list or added to the list. So there is an inbuilt, mechanism or inbuilt review mechanism, I should say. And of course, we hope that this will work in our favor in the near future. And also, we will continue, of course, to use diplomatic channels to talk to our friends and our partners at the EU, because this is a very important issue. We do enjoy cordial relations with the EU, and I think many Namibians will remember how EU member states came to our aid during the terrible third wave of the pandemic earlier this year. They donated medical equipment and vaccines, protective gear through the EU Civil Protection Mechanism, and this was very much appreciated. This was a gesture of friendship and solidarity, and we hope that these sentiments, together with really an evidence-based, a science-driven approach towards the emergence of new variants, because we understand that a lot of this was driven by the emergence or the discovery of this new variant called Omicron. But we do hope that these values and principles will prevail, especially when it comes to travel restrictions.
Your Excellency, that's all the time we had this morning. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for having me.
That was Her Excellency Dr. Mekondjo Kaapanda-Girnus, Namibia's ambassador to Belgium and the European Union, talking to us about the latest developments as far as Namibia is concerned in the European Union.